Hi, I'm Kamali, taking you through the stories people are talking about and sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. They got married and people cried and a pastor gave a sermon and Amal Clooney looked amazing and the internet is only just simmering down. We look at what happened on Saturday in Windsor. We'll show you the moment a TV host in South Africa walked off set during his show and we'll explain the reaction. Asia Argento gives a powerful speech at the end of the Cannes Film Festival. We'll play you what she said. And Monday and the animals doing stuff in this one have a bit of a bad rep if you believe cartoons. We'll show you their softer side. All right, top of our news feed, and maybe you've been lucky enough to be living under a rock and not have noticed that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle got married on Saturday. Well, the internet hasn't shut up about it since, and Arabella Monroe takes us through the internet's best reactions.
To the chapel and we're gonna get married.
It really was a royal wedding like you've never seen before. Let's look at some of the highlights, and I don't mean all the outfits, although well done, Amal Clooney. Kicking off the excitement, the arrivals. American royalty Oprah strolled in early, at the same time as British actor Idris Elba. Other spotlight stealers include David Beckham and Serena Williams. Finally, the most important arrival. The ceremony itself kicked off quite traditionally, but it didn't stay that way. Bishop Michael Curry took us all to church. He's the first black presiding bishop of the American Episcopal Church and a passionate social justice campaigner who went deep into the power of love.
I'm talking about some power. Real power. Power to change the world. If you don't believe me, well, there were some old slaves in America's antebellum South who explained the dynamic power of love and why it has the power to transform. They explained it this way. They sang a spiritual, even in the midst of their captivity. It's one that says there is a balm in Gilead.
Twitter went wild and made some pointed jokes. Keeping the fire going, the gospel choir really lifted the roof off Windsor Chapel with Stand By Me. Staying on that musical note, 19-year-old Sheku Kana-Mason, hand-picked by the bride, wowed the church and the world on his 400-year-old cello. After all the pomp, peacocking, and surprising diversity, it wouldn't be a global event on this scale without spawning a few memes. Now, here are some of my favourite reactions. Pippa Middleton's dress didn't get quite as good a reaction this royal wedding around. And then there was this. Of course, there are loads of Disney comparisons floating around, like this and this one. The BBC took a dig at President Trump with this comparison to his inauguration crowd. Back to Harry and Meghan. As they rode off into not quite the sunset, one thing everyone can agree on. This is a picture in a billion.
We don't have to talk about it again. Let's look at what else is trending on social media. Now, we tend to avoid Trump tweets on this show, but this little beauty over the weekend was too much to ignore. The First Lady, Melania, has recently come home after having a minor surgery for a kidney condition. Now, she got back to the White House on Saturday, and in a digital PDA, he tweeted, "Great to have our incredible First Lady back home in the White House. Melanie is feeling and doing really well. Thank you for your prayers and best wishes." Notice the obvious cringe-inducing error. A new tweet was quickly sent, this time welcoming Melania back. At the Billboard Music Awards on Sunday, host Kelly Clarkson paid tribute to teenagers killed in America's latest mass school shooting. This one was in Texas, where 10 people were killed and 10 others injured. She told the crowd she was going to lead a minute's silence, but instead, she did this.
I'm so sick of moment of silence. Like, it's not working. Like, obviously, so, sorry. So why don't we not do a moment of silence? Why don't we do a moment of action? Why don't we do a moment of change? Why don't we change what's happening? Because it's horrible.
Now, on Friday, Ireland will hold a referendum asking people to vote yes or no on changing the 8th Amendment to effectively legalise abortion. A No campaigner put the words on one of the country's best-known mountains, but it's since been removed. But that hasn't stopped Twitter from flipping its original message. This version says, "Ain't no mountain high enough to keep me from accessing vital healthcare." And this one says, "No country for young women." Now, South African social media is on fire right now over what happened on one of the country's biggest sports shows at the weekend. Take a look at this.
And I've earned hard and worked hard to earn my own respect in this game. So I'm not going to be patronized by two individuals that have played in an apartheid, a segregated era, and come and want to undermine, you know. And so
the guy walking off set there is Ashwin Willemse. He's about to leave, I do promise you. There he goes. Now, he's a former South African rugby player and commentator now for SuperSport. Now, we're not exactly sure what happened off camera, but words were clearly exchanged between him and the two other former Springboks on set there, Nick Mallet and Naz Buta. Now, there is some suggestion that there was talk of quota players, which is a very touchy subject to black people in South Africa because it refers to them being tokenistic apartheid-era South African rugby players, which Willemse was not at all. He was Player of the Year in 2003. Now, people on social media have called for both Mallet and Buta to be suspended, and the network has launched an investigation. Well, in a statement, the spokesperson for the sports ministry said it has been a problem to many rugby players that they've been referred to as the quota beneficiaries, and they're just there to replace white faces with black ones. The country's sports minister said that this behaviour of entitlement by some white South Africans who continue to think their whiteness represents better must come to an end. Well, our sports show Beyond the Game will have more on this later and throughout the week. Now, there are more than 3 million Syrian refugees living in Turkey. They've come here because the war has made their homes unlivable. The Turkish Red Crescent is one of many aid groups working to alleviate their suffering. We caught up with them and the World Food Programme at a refugee camp on the border with Syria.
The government of Turkey and the people of Turkey are the ones who do the most of the work. And the Turkish Red Crescent is the one who is leading the operations in Turkey. And WFP really, we're only supporting as much as we can. So all the gratitude and the appreciations goes to the government and the people of Turkey, our partner, our valued partner, the Turkish Red Crescent, all their efforts and what they are doing. And the program that we have now in Turkey, which is providing assistance to the Syrian refugees, or let me use the right terminology to say the Syrian brothers, as the Turks refer to them in Turkey, is one of the programs that we are extremely proud on. As you know, in Turkey, there is about close between 3.5 to 4 million Syrian refugees. What we are doing is we're providing assistance to between 1.3 and hopefully we will increase that to 1.5 million very soon. This is one of our programs that we are extremely proud of.
This is a basic donation as a cash to the people for protecting their dignity and providing basic assistance and protection to them. Beside this program and WFP World Food Programme is the strongest organization in the world in charge of the logistical cluster in the humanitarian landscape and in charge of the food insecurity and the basic humanitarian assistance. We are really proud of their partnership and in collaboration with the WFP and with their experiences and the capacities, we could implement jointly this program in Turkey for the Syrian refugees.
All right, let's take you around the world for some other stories you need to know this Monday. In the most predictable election win since Vladimir Putin won in Russia a few weeks back, Nicolas Maduro has been duly re-elected president of Venezuela. The country is economically on its knees through US-imposed sanctions, and the 40-something% of people who bothered to vote voted for Maduro by 2/3. All serious opposition boycotted the vote, and Chile's president said he wouldn't recognize the result. The Cannes Film Festival has come to a close for another year, and it was the first since the truth about Harvey Weinstein came out and the Time's Up and Me Too movements began. And the festival did what it could to try and redress where it may have failed in the past. There was a hotline centre that was set up for anyone who faced any kind of harassment or abuse, and a campaign for gender parity was begun, and it was closed by a powerful speech from the actress Asia Argento, who says she was raped by Weinstein at the festival back in 1997.
This festival was his hunting ground. I want to make a prediction. Harvey Weinstein will never be welcomed here ever again. He will live in disgrace, shunned by a film community that once embraced him and covered up for his crimes. And even tonight, sitting among you, there are those who still have to be held accountable for their conduct against women.
Right, we'll need the bathroom. Well, now because a manager at a Starbucks displayed racial bias by calling the cops on two black guys who were sitting in this shop in Philadelphia while they were waiting for a friend, we can all use bathrooms at Starbucks without having to buy any of their average coffee. And because the chain stores seem to be popping up faster than you can say Starbucks kills independent coffee companies, you can basically always rely on them to have a toilet to use when you need. It's not just bathrooms that are free for use either. They want Starbucks to be a place where, in their words, you can gather and connect. And I am obsessed with the pictures of bubbling, flowing lava in Hawaii. It's now been erupting for more than 2 weeks, and the images, as you can see, are spectacular. But someone was hurt yesterday. A piece of molten rock hit him on the leg while he was sitting on his balcony a few miles away. Now, I'm not going to make any Dark Side of the Moon album references, but the Chinese are closer than ever to landing instruments on the side of the moon that never faces the Earth. They've launched a satellite that they will say will act as a launch pad for a lunar rover later in the year. They plan to have wheels down on the dark side by the end of 2018 and will begin a mini lunar biosphere experiment. They're going to try and grow cabbage and potatoes. How cool is that? Now, the World Health Organization says that 1 in 4 people around the world will be affected by mental health issues at some point in their lives. Take a look at this.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month in the US. It has been observed every year since 1949 to openly discuss mental illnesses. According to the American Psychiatric Association, mental illnesses are health conditions involving changes in thinking, emotion, or behaviour, or a combination of these. Mental illnesses are associated with distress and/or problems functioning in social, work, or family activities. More than 43 million Americans are diagnosed with mental health conditions annually, ranging from depression, anxiety, eating disorders, ADHD, substance abuse, addictions, and more. But 1 out of 5 people don't talk about mental illness and avoid seeking help due to stigma and discrimination. Now celebrities are starting to open up about mental illness and bringing the issue into the national debate.
I found that with depression, one of the most important things you could realize is that you're not alone. You're not the first to go through it. You're not going to be the last to go through it.
And the taboo out of mental illnesses, self-harm, eating disorders, and just spread the awareness that if you get help, you can do it, you can make it through it.
Now, if you're anything like us, you grew up watching Looney Tunes cartoons and you probably think that Tasmanian devils are something like this. But it turns out they're not nearly as devilish as that guy was. Take a look at this little guy. This puppy of a devil is called Malloy and he's cuddling with his keeper, Kelly, at the Australian Reptile Park. Apparently, he loves belly rubs and even the odd kiss. Now, the zoo is running the biggest breeding program in the world for the endangered marsupial because they are being slowly wiped out by a facial tumour disease. All right, well, that's all from the NewsFeed team. Reach out to us with your questions, comments, complaints, and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Follow, subscribe, and add. See you tomorrow.